we are going to list some of the most important Angular interview questions and answers which will set you apart in the interview process. Angular continues to dominate the arena of the JavaScript framework and has proved itself to be a worthy investment for web developers who seek to fast-track their career. No surprises there, Angular is majorly known for its ability to create single-page web applications that encompass three critical components: speed, agility and a strong community backing it up. Angular is known as the Swiss Army knife of front-end developers. In this video, I list top 20 Angular interview questions with answers with proper examples. To start Angular interview questions and answers session, I request you to subscribe to my YouTube channel and press bell icon to get real-time updates of interview questions and answers, which is helping to prepare the interview. What is Angular? Angular is an open-source front-end web framework. It is one of the most popular JavaScript frameworks that is mainly maintained by Google. It provides a platform for easy development of web-based applications and empowers the front-end developers in curating cross-platform applications. It integrates powerful features like declarative templates, and end-to-end tooling, dependency injection and various other best practices that smoothens the development path.
What are the advantages of using Angular?
A few of the major advantages of using Angular framework. First, it supports two-way data binding. Second, it follows MVC pattern architecture. Third, it supports static template and Angular template. Fourth, you can add a custom directive. Fifth, it also supports RESTful services. Sixth, validations are supported. Seventh, client and server communication is facilitated. 8. Support for dependency injection. And ninth, has strong features like event handlers, animation, etc.
What is Angular mainly used for?
Angular is typically used for the development of SPA, which stands for single-page applications. Angular provides a set of ready-to-use modules that simplify the development of single-page applications. Not only this, with features like built-in data streaming, type safety, and a modular CLI, Angular is regarded as a full-fledged web framework.
What are Angular expressions?
Angular expressions are code snippets that are usually placed in bindings such as expression, similar to JavaScript. These expressions are used to bind application data to HTML.
What are templates in Angular?
Templates in Angular are written with HTML that contains Angular-specific elements and attributes. These templates are combined with information coming from the model and controller, which are further rendered to provide the dynamic view to the user.
In Angular, what is string interpolation?
String interpolation in Angular is a special syntax that uses template expressions within double curly braces for displaying the component data. It is also known as mustache syntax. The JavaScript expressions are included within the curly braces to be executed by Angular, and the relative output is then embedded into the HTML code. These expressions are usually updated and registered like watches, as a part of the digest cycle.
What is the difference between an annotation and a decorator in Angular?
Annotations in Angular are only metadata set of the class using the reflect metadata library. They are used to create an annotation array. On the other hand, decorators are the design patterns that are used for separating decoration or modification of a class without actually altering the original source code.
What do you understand by controllers in Angular?
Controllers are JavaScript functions which provide data and logic to HTML UI. As the name suggests, they control how data flows from the server to HTML UI.
What is scope in Angular?
Scope in Angular is an object that refers to the application model. It is an execution context for expressions. Scopes are arranged in a hierarchical structure which mimics the DOM structure of the application. Scopes can watch expressions and propagate events.
What are directives in Angular?
A core feature of Angular, directives are attributes that allow you to write new HTML syntax, specific to your application. They are essentially functions that execute when the Angular compiler finds them in the DOM. The Angular directives are segregated into three parts. First, component directives. Second, structural directives. And third, attribute directives.
What is data binding?
In Angular, Data binding is one of the most powerful and important features that allow you to define the communication between the component and DOM document object model. It basically simplifies the process of defining interactive applications without having to worry about pushing and pulling data between your view or template and component. In Angular, there are 4 forms of data binding. First, string interpolation. Second, property binding. Third, event binding. And fourth, two-way data binding.
What is the purpose of a filter in Angular?
Filters in Angular are used for formatting the value of an expression in order to display it to the user. These filters can be added to the templates, directives, controllers or services. Not just this, you can create your own custom filters. Using them, you can easily organize data in such a way that the data is displayed only if it fulfills certain criteria. Filters are added to the expressions by using the pipe character vertical bar, followed by a filter.
What is a provider in Angular?
A provider is a configurable service in Angular. It is an instruction to the dependency injection system that provides information about the way to obtain a value for a dependency. It is an object that has a $get method which is called to create a new instance of a service. A provider can also contain additional methods and uses $provide in order to register new providers.
What is the difference between a service and a factory?
A service in Angular is a function that is used for the business layer of the application. It operates as a constructor function and is invoked once at the runtime using the new keyword. Whereas factory is a function which works similar to the service but is much more powerful and flexible. Factory are design patterns which help in creating objects.
What is O?
O stands for Angular Ahead of Time Compiler. It is used for pre-compiling the application components and along with their templates during the build process. Angular applications which are compiled with O has a smaller launching time. Also, components of these applications can execute immediately, without needing any client-side compilation. Templates in these applications are embedded as code within their components. It reduces the need for downloading the Angular compiler, which saves you from a cumbersome task. O compiler can discard the unused directives which are further thrown out using a tree shaking tool.
Explain Keylight.
Keylight is also known as jQuery. Lite is a subset of jQuery and contains all its features. It is packaged within Angular, by default. It helps Angular to manipulate the DOM in a way that is compatible cross-browser. Keylight basically implements only the most commonly needed functionality, which results in having a small footprint.
What are the Angular modules?
All the Angular apps are modular and follow a modularity system known as ng modules. These are the containers which hold a cohesive block of code dedicated specifically to an application domain, a workflow, or some closely related set of capabilities. These modules generally contain components, service providers, and other code files whose scope is defined by the containing ng module. With modules makes the code becomes more maintainable, testable, and readable. Also, all the dependencies of your applications are generally defined in modules only.
What are the different types of filters in Angular?
Below are the various filters supported by Angular. First, currency. Format a number to a currency format. Second, date. Format a date to a specified format. Third, filter. Select a subset of items from an array. Fourth, JSON. Format an object to a JSON string. Fifth, limit. To limits an array/string, into a specified number of elements/characters. Sixth, lowercase. Format a string to lowercase. Seventh, number. Format a number to a string. 8. Order by, orders an array by an expression. And 9. Uppercase. Format a string to uppercase.
What is dependency injection in Angular?
Dependency injection, DI, is a software design pattern where the objects are passed as dependencies rather than hard-coding them within the component. The concept of dependency injection comes in handy when you are trying to separate the logic of object creation to that of its consumption. The config operation makes use of DI that must be configured beforehand while the module gets loaded to retrieve the elements of the application. With this feature, a user can change dependencies as per his requirements.
What do you understand by dirty checking in Angular?
In Angular, the digest process is known as dirty checking. It is called so as it scans the entire scope for changes. In other words, it compares all the new scope model values with the previous scope values. Since all the watched variables are contained in a single loop, any change/update in any of the variable leads to reassigning of rest of the watched variables present inside the DOM. A watched variable is in a single loop digest cycle. Any value change of any variable forces to reassign values of other watched variables in DOM.